we here in the state of Michigan will be losing a congressional seat due to the census and the realignment here in the state of Michigan. While we actually didn't lose population, we just didn't gain enough as some of the other states. And so therefore we are going to be going down to 13 districts from 14. But with that too, in the middle of all this craziness, and we know how hard the census was because of the pandemic, in the middle of all of this, we have a new independent Citizens Redistricting Commission here in the state of Michigan. And they're trying to make sense of all this chaos and realign our maps. And with that, let's bring in MC Rotthorn. He's one of the commissioners, 13-member commission. It's a new commission. How are things going?
Thanks. They're going well. We got our feet under us, and we got a great staff. And I think the 13 of us are getting to know each other over Zoom. And now because we have public hearings in person, a little bit in person. Not all of us are here, and yeah, it's still in person.
So with that, explain to us more about the Redistricting Commission. What is your goal and what is the purpose?
So fair and transparent process, right, to draw these congressional, state, and congressional, House, and Senate maps for the state. So 3 maps. We hope to have that done before the end of the year, and those maps will be used for to administer elections.
So wait, you use the words fair and transparent when we're talking about government?
Yeah. It's a citizens redistricting commission too. Like the other thing is that it's the voters, not the politicians, that are doing this. And so I suppose it's I'm one of those who were randomly selected last year in 2020 still. And so we've been at this for about 8-9 months. And it was something that was actually set up in 2018, right? This was a ballot initiative that was passed with over 61% of the voters that said they want to intentionally sort of like have the redistricting process in the hands of voters and not politicians. So our commission has the exclusive authority to create these 3 maps.
And so with that, MC, I have to ask, why did you want to be a part of this?
I suppose it's because I appreciate our democracy, frankly. And I've always wanted to be on a jury and do jury duty, and have rarely, actually never gotten called, but have rarely even participated in that way. So this is sort of like the best jury duty ever. And I remember that form coming in the mail, and I didn't have to do it online. I guess I remember filling it out on paper, and that worked out at the time. And so I said I like the idea of participating in democracy and understand that it's important to participate. So I suppose that's honestly the reason. I didn't expect actually to win, so to speak. And it's a mixed blessing, right? We're going to have a challenging moment, this year, to try to get these all 13 of us to understand how this process, right? It's the first time this whole process is happening, but we gotta just decide. And I think honestly, I'm looking forward to it, because I think we're a good team, and I didn't anticipate that when I filled it all out.
It really, this is fascinating to me as well, because we should point out, prior to this, the redistricting was done by politicians. And we know typically when those maps were redrawn, they would benefit one party or the other. So to be a part of this, but it's the first time it's being done here in the state of Michigan. You add to that a pandemic and a delay from the census and the data being collected from the census. Are you someday scratching your head going, could it be a little bit easier? Just throwing all the challenges at you your very first time.
Sure. I mean, the answer is yes. I do scratch my head, and I think each of us does. And I think ultimately, I do think that there's no challenge that we haven't overcome, right? I think we all get to this point in our lives where we understand that we're not given anything that we can't actually handle. I think we will be able to handle it ultimately. And there's a lot of people on the team. So
with that, it's a 13-member team made up of Democrats and Republicans
and independents. So we have four Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 independents.
What is the background of a lot of the members. Do many of you have any type of previous political experience?
No, that's so the I'll offer that the political experience is particularly uh, it's one of the questions that we tried to understand. Like we're the political parties got to weed out those who they didn't want to be in the final drawing for the random selection, and so we none of us has political experience, and I think many of us are strong supporters of participation in democracy and as citizens. And so I suppose each of us has roots in Michigan, and each of us applied and was randomly selected. I do believe that the background is pretty unique in that we each come from we're all from the Lower Peninsula, right? None of us are actually from the UP, and it's random, right? There weren't as many people in the UP who also applied. So, but I suppose there's a lot of desire and a lot of I think a lot of excitement. Frankly, I think we understand that we've got a great duty, right? So there's a feeling of weight, but there's also this feeling of excitement, and I think we each sort of understand that we play a role.
And so with that, again, we're speaking with MC Rotthorn. He is one of the commissioners for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. What is the process like? What is your ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is to finish these 3 maps and to come up with these 3 maps that will be able to have elections administered next year, starting in, I believe in January, if not earlier, because the Secretary of State's office will be in that's their role. Our role as the commission is simply to help create the maps in a fair and transparent way. And that means that we have all of our public hearings live and televised. I said televised, that's not true. It's live stream. That's the word. But the process is to from May right now until the end of June. So the next, 7 weeks, we'll be doing 16 public hearings where we're essentially listening. We're on a listening tour. And then in July, we'll be sort of collecting all this information and some of the maps that citizens have suggested and a lot of their comments. I said a lot, I mean all of their comments. We will be, sort of integrating them into how we discuss and deliberate and begin to draft the first maps, right? So from now to end of June, we're listening. In July, we'll begin sort of pulling these notes together and working with our staff and the rest of our team. And then we'll actually have a draft set of maps sometime in August. And again, that's around the time when we expect the census data to come. So the information that we require for these first set of maps as drafts will come sometime in August, we anticipate. And so maybe September, we don't know. And then once that information comes, we'll give a set of maps out to the people, and then we'll do another 8 public hearings to sort of have the maps, the drafts that we've created, reviewed by the people. And then and then we'll again, the commission will hear that comment, take into consideration all the feedback that we get, and then we'll essentially vote before the end of the year if all goes as planned. It might be early next year, but we're seeking some relief, so we don't know the whole process, right? A lot of uncertainties, and that's where we scratch our heads. But we just do the best we can with what we've got. Best we can. Yeah, that's right.
So with that, MC, so it's the commission that will actually vote on what the final map is going to be.
Correct. All 13 of us. Yeah. And we're a democracy. So we'll vote, but we need each party to be represented in that final vote.
And so with this, what is the ultimate goal for the map? When we're talking about the map, because it's so important, because it really is about political parties and our vote and how our tax dollars are being spent. But what are you looking at as one of the commissioners? Like, it seems so hard to me because this is such a vast state with such different demographics. And how do you weigh all of that to come up with the fair and equitable map?
Yeah, so equity is a good word. I don't know that we each, as the 13 of us, agree on equity, sort of as fairness. And what I know we want to build trust. This is the first year And there'll be a second round 10 years from now, if all goes as planned, right? Where the citizens will also do it, right? So we know that we want to ultimately build trust while we're creating these fair and transparent maps. And so we want a process that the people actually look at, see why we're making these decisions, recognize that it's hard, right? There is no perfect decision, and we're not going to make everyone happy. And of course, we're going to make it transparent, and we're going to do our darndest to make sure that you understand how we evaluate fair, right? And we're going to bring in equity, and no, we don't know exactly how we're going to do that, right? And there's a lot of data that's missing, and it's not just about data, right? It's also about stories and, right, the communities of interest, and what people are giving us when they're sharing during these public hearings is a lot of their personal experience, their lived experience, and how they feel like these districts that have been, right? I appreciate you using the word redistricting. So many people recognize gerrymandering, right? And it, right, as in the political process, redistricting turned into gerrymandering. We're trying to bring it back to redistricting, help people hear the citizens of Michigan, right, and reflect their voices and what we've heard in the maps as best we can, right, so that we can get, not just the data and the population data, but also the let's say the way that people love the land, right? There's so many stories that people share about, like, the rivers and the way that they steward, right, this great state, and the resources and the relatives, so to speak, that we have in each other and in this great state. So I suppose you asked about what that final, it's trust. I want a process that people feel like they can trust, because it's transparent, because we've laid it out, and we have it. We don't have anything that's not live stream. We don't have anything that's not that's backroom discussions. That's the old process. And I understand that people, it's a leap of faith, right, to say that, hey, it's not going to happen this time. It's not, and it won't. That's kind of the ultimate goal.
MC, I have to tell you, hearing you say those words, so refreshing, because as a journalist, you become so cynical to the
Sure.
entire political process, both sides of the aisle, because so many backdoor deals are also made. And so it's great to hear that all of you are taking on this challenge, but you're doing it to be the voice of the people. One thing with the pandemic, I hope that people have really come to realize how important our super local elections are, and why it matters who you vote into office, because we've seen that throughout this pandemic. They're having such a direct impact on our dollars and our recovery. So with that too, are you seeing a good response from the public for them to engage in this process with you and the other members of the commission?
Yes, so it's the first time, right, that we're doing this. And yes, we kicked it off in Jackson, in the birthplace of the Republican Party. It was the kickoff for our listening tour. And yeah, we had a great response. And what I mean to say is, for me, I'll qualify what I mean by a great response. We had over 70 public people in person give public comment. And then we had 2 people live streamed. I think it was just 2. But the point is, they listened to each other. The people that were in the room didn't just give a comment and then leave. There was a lot of listening to each other. So that warmed my heart. And like I said, and the people, when they are sharing, right, whether it was Jackson or in Kalamazoo, it'll be Marquette tonight. But the people have, the last 2 times, like, really shared what they believe, right? And it's honest statements. I think they're giving us their heart. It doesn't feel political. It doesn't feel like it's spin or spun in any way. It feels like it's genuine concern and genuine experience that they've lived, and it doesn't always line up, but they're at least listening to each other. They're not just making their case and then leaving. So it's very encouraging. I think we are getting good attendance, and we want more, right? It's not done, right? 70 people does not represent all of Jackson, right? Another 70 in Kalamazoo does not represent all the voices, because it's a region, right? And so we know we want more, and we've gotten a great response in our on the online public comment tool. I think that's michigan.gov and then /MICRC. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, and it's a great way to interact and help us as the commission sort of collect this comment and then sort through it all and try to synthesize the comments and make some generalizations and make a map, ultimately make 3 maps that will reflect, all these comments, and frankly create a fair and transparent, well, through the process, but create a map that actually represents, the state of Michigan in ways that we maybe have never had. Not maybe, we've never had. Like, this will be the first map that's drawn by the citizens.
I will say, what a great experience for you to have, to be able to be a part of this, not only it being the first time, but also being able to engage with so many people here in the state of Michigan from all different walks of life and all different viewpoints. And again, how can people find out about one of these listening tours? Because you're going to be doing them throughout the state, right?
That's true. It is, so michigan.gov/MICRC. It is, we're doing, the last one will be in Grand Rapids on July 1st. We'll be, I think we're sort of the Oakland area right now, I believe, in Pontiac. We'll be on June 10th. We'll be in Novi. I heard that record, we'll be in Novi on June 8th. And so, and again, at michigan.gov/MICRC, that's where the public hearing schedule is. And it's important to note that these are public hearings. And so these 16, that doesn't mean that the public comment window closes. We have regular meetings, meaning not public hearings, right? We have regular weekly meetings every Thursday, and we'll continue to meet again in July, right? And at these meetings, we will be deliberating and using all the what we've heard, and there will still be opportunities to comment, right? And so many of the maps that we want to hear from or see, right, in the public comments, we want to see maps, we want to hear input and what people have lived, but we want that experience nonstop. Like, we want it can be a 24-hour, online. We have a phone number too. I want to acknowledge that. I believe it's 1-800-U-DRAW. Maybe it's 1-888. I don't know if you have that in front of you.
I don't.
Yeah, and
but I do have your website up, so I'll look it up. But so sometimes too, you just have to go old school, right? Because we have to remember some people still don't have the internet or aren't savvy with using the internet.
Exactly. That digital divide exists. It's real. And we recognize that, we've heard a lot of people say that, this online school during COVID was not easy when you're in the rural areas, or even, sort of like outer suburbs. It's tricky for a lot of folks.
So the number again is going to be 833-U-DRAW, 833-U-DRAW. So that's a little bit different, which makes it easy to remember as well. MC Rotthorn with us here on the MegaCast. He's one of the commissioners for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. With that, MC, just another minute or two. Anything maybe we didn't ask that you want to add before we have to say goodbye to you?
Gosh, no, this has been a real pleasure. I really appreciate it, Ronnie.
Well, we appreciate the work that you and the other members are doing, and it's great to see our voices actually being heard. I do feel like after talking to you, it's not just a smokescreen. All of you are really taking our voices at heart to realign the maps. So it's great to see that this is actually happening. I remember voting on it. So it's great to see it's in place, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Excellent. Pleasure talking to you too. Thanks again.